Weird science is the revolution.
Rook Exodus number 3. I still think people are going to love this so much when you end up having things, but it's more like I was saying, and like you were kind of alluding to, it kind of sets up the excitement for what will come later, because we get a bunch of characters mentioned, but they're like, one after the other, rapid fire. But it is Jeff Johns writing, Jason Faubuck on art, Brad Anderson colors, Rob Lay on letters. I'll just read this. Previously in Rook, with his escape craft now in ruins, Rook now finds himself on the run from the barbaric bear warden Earthsaw, joined with the wolf warden Direwolf. They need to find allies and find them fast. I like Direwolf a lot. My favorite character in the book, even above Rook. Rook is, I don't think you're supposed to really love Rook. He wants to bail. Real jaded. Yeah, and he wants to bail. He wants to get out of there. And nobody, it seems, but Direwolf likes him either, including his crows, it seems. That's the worst part. You're going to end up where Rook is one of those, like, he tried to escape. He couldn't. And now that's coming to bite him in the ass, because people know he tried to escape and they think he was going to bail on him. So you have especially the character that we end up getting in here. Direwolf is actually very nice about it, but Direwolf, even throughout this, keeps saying, you got to deal with your crows better. You got to deal with these birds better. You're not trusting them, so they don't trust you, because they're talking. They have to get to the wildlife grid. They have to get to, the big deal because of Earthsaw, all these attacks. Swine's dead. We actually see a couple others are already dead, but they're trying to get to there, and they're going to take like this big giant boat that they have. It looks like a riverboat cruise type thing. It's going to go down the river. But in the meantime, when they're talking, you do end up having Direwolf take her helmet off. She takes the helmet off, and her name is Donica as well, but I'll always go Direwolf, I think, and starts talking to the wolves and actually the head wolf, Freya, and says, hey, you watch over the pack. I'll be back soon. And right away, you end up having Rook like, whoa, put that back on. Don't take off your helmet. They are going to eat you. And she says, no. You got to trust them. There's a connection. And he's been fighting this connection the whole time. When he talks about the birds, he talks about them intruding into his mind and all that going on. And so they're not real nice to him either. They're doing what they're doing. But he says, I think that when this is all over, if I die, they'll be happy because they're free. I don't think, and we see, where we see it later, very end with swines, the pigs, the warthogs, the one is still complaining because swine isn't involved. But the big thing too is that you have this connection. We don't know. I like how this world building is. We don't know how close Direwolf is with Rook. They seem friendly. But when you have Rook say, because they're going to go meet somebody and they're going to go to this whole place. And Rook thinks it's her father. And she's like, no, my father's dead. And he's like, oh my God, like he had no idea. And that's a big deal. And she keeps trying to push it away, and everybody wants to talk about it. But she keeps like, no, it's fine, whatever. And you end up where, again, even then, Rook, the wolves don't even like him. Nobody likes Rook. I'm telling you, they don't like him in this world. But they end up getting on this kind of riverboat deal, and they start going down the river. And that's where the one bird's like taunting him by getting fish and things like that. He's like, they're doing that on purpose. And she says, you need a better relationship with your animals. You need that. And that's the thing. Swine said the same thing. It said Swine really went in with the whole thing with Direwolf's rhetoric. And you forget, or you're not brought up, but if you don't remember, Swine was staying. He didn't want to go there. Yeah. He said, because he's starting to believe in what Direwolf is saying, what everybody else is going. But you go and you have an awesome spread page. I mean, it's incredible as they get towards this dam, and they end up having the wildlife grid at this hub for survivors they call the Oasis. All the stuff there is really, really cool. And you kind of are like, oh my God, everything's big and whatnot. You do notice that there are turtles. I mean, humongous turtles with giant, like, mecha things. I mean, if you do look at this thing on top of the turtle when you first see it, it is so cool. It looks like, obviously, there are guns. We're going to see that. But there's even, like, a house on top of things. It's so...
There's a little shack. It's so cool.
Neat. It's so neat. And you end up where they go, and they meet up with Carapace, and that is the turtle warden. And he is pretty cool. He even walks slow. Everything about him is kind of slow.
He's very turtle-like.
Yeah, he's very turtle-like. And I don't know, he reminds me of Yoda.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Isn't he like Yoda? Like some of the comments
dropping
that
bars
he has.
of wisdom every once in a while.
I really like him. And like a turtle.
Jim, he might be my new favorite.
He is really good. And he's very old.
Yes, 118.
Like a turtle. Yeah, like a turtle. And so he ends up where they say, Rook even says, and this is the thing again with these wardens, you kind of would have gotten the idea that they kind of hung out at a time or knew each other. What? Maybe they knew of each other. Rook hasn't really met a lot of them. You have here where Carapace is friendly, it seems, with Direwolf, but doesn't really know Rook and doesn't trust him and has heard things and even was listening through the whole device that he heard Rook saying and talking about leaving and trying to bail. And that's one of the things that it seems Carapace is not very happy with. And the explanation is he actually is so old that he was able to see two worlds go down, like pretty much fall apart, and was on Earth when they still had a chance to save it. So that's a big deal. And it's really cool. And even then you see a real cool from above deal with the birds, because all of a sudden you end up where as they're pulling in, Rook is like, so you know this guy? Is he friendly? Whatever. And, oh, yeah, he likes me. All of a sudden, all of these two turtles, all of the weaponry
just turn.
It goes in. It pretty much, it goes. And he's like, oh my God, they're pointing that stuff at us. And
I thought you said we were friendly.
Yeah. She's like, I am. And says that they're not pointing those guns at me. They're huge guns, though. But it's really, really cool, but really sets up that idea of Carapace does not trust Rook. Does not, and says, not even trust, because as he's talking, and he talks slow, so Rook ends up like butting in. He's like, I don't think we can. I know you're going to say you can't trust me. You can trust me. No, rely on you, because you wanted to leave. You were going to bail on us. And he talks. I like even where you see like almost like a regular life, and we haven't seen that really at this point. We haven't really seen anybody else but Swine, Direwolf, Ursa, those guys, but we never saw like a village or something like this where there's kids playing around and stuff. So it's kind of a cool play, but you end up, with that where Carapace even knows and knew Direwolf's father and keeps saying, you know what, I'm sorry about, what happened. She just keeps saying, no, I'm okay and whatnot. But he says we can't rely on him. But what they're going to do is pretty much go to Wildlife Cerebro. They're going to go to the grid, and they're going to contact everybody. And the idea of what they're there to fight for. And Rook says he's there because Swine, and this is the Yoda moment, is when he says, I want to get revenge. Oh, revenge, you say? I'm like,
selfish boy.
He even talks like Yoda.
And do not let your feelings cloud your judgment.
You know what the funniest thing is? He says that to Rook, but yet Direwolf, she knows the talk of the talk. She says, I'm doing this for my father for revenge, but also for the men, women, and children still here in all of Exodus. So she knows the talk. She still wants revenge. Ursa is just not a good guy. He's killing people. He's killing all these people. So you end up where that's where even you have Direwolf say, you gotta be careful with Carapace and don't take anything he says fully, but he's seen two worlds die. So that's pretty crazy. So you end up and you have a nice play of talking about, all of the land and how everybody needs to protect and save it. And then you see just crazy Ursal's, this crazy arc ship that he has, just destroying things. I mean, this is killing animals, just ripping through these forests. And you do go into his, mobile fortress, and you go and see him. And it's pretty cool where you have just a wall where he has some of the masks hanging up. You see what is a snake mask. You see Swine's right in the middle. And then you see another one. We'll find out what they are by the end. But you end up where he has places for all the masks. So you could count them and figure out how many wardens there are, which is cool, especially in this where they're going to just tell us all of them and a bunch of them anyway. So there are a lot, some better than others. When we get to some, I'm like, I don't know why we need a chicken warden and a locust. The locust and the chicken rooster, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see. We'll see how cool. Now, a plague of locusts coming in could be pretty cool, but I'm like, I don't know, that rooster guy, what does he wake you up in the morning? He'll wake Ursa up too early and he'll be tired all day. That will be his attack. But they're going to contact everybody. They're going to use the wildlife grid. Give a shout out. I thought right away, probably everybody did, Ursa's going to hear this. Like, he has the mask. I'm like, you're going to send this out. He's going to hear, but I guess they just have to do it. They have to go with it. And they're going to send out the signal and saying, I think, some won't respond. Some are dead. And it is a deal where it does feel like it's very much a dire wolf plan when Carapace says, like, don't be upset if nothing happens here, but they're going to give the call. And that's pretty much where the issue then just turns into roll call, but it's still pretty neat. You still awesome. Get some. And it is funny, the ones that you get a little like, you end up with Reynard the Fox.
I love him.
Yeah, and you start with that, and he's like a Green Arrow, medieval Robin Hood. Yeah, so he's there, and he has the, hey, boys and girls, back to the village, take the goods. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. They just robbed somebody, and the foxes are going. And that's really, really, and the design looks really neat. Then you go to what may not be anybody's favorite, but it's pretty cool. You get Arachne the spider. And all I can think of...
That's one giant spider in the right corner. That's bigger than the man. And I'm like, what the...
It's bad. And all I could think of is Rook saying, like, put that helmet on, they're going to eat you. I'm like, this guy better fix that helmet quick.
I know you're all hungry. I'm hungry too. It's like, why aren't they eating you then?
Exactly. But I guess they're real good friends. Like, Rook seems to be the one who doesn't really play at that. Because, again, Rook was the one who was trying to get off. Why would he try to be friends with these birds when he's leaving? He kind of does treat them like crap. He's always complaining. But then you go, pretty much through all of these as you go, you get, what is it? Hardhead the Ram. Looks really cool, but he looks like he's like drunk and beating up people, almost like a Asgardian type of ram goat kind of deal. He looks crazy. Then you get Stag the deer.
Which looks really cool, too. He looks like a samurai-esque one. He's just meditating in the middle of the woods surrounded by deer. It's so cool.
And I didn't try, but I was maybe try to translate it, maybe get my Google Translate, because he may be just straight up talking in Japanese. That we're getting a narration as we're going through this by Rook, who's like, okay, I hear that. I don't understand what this guy is. Yeah, he's like, he doesn't know what might be Japanese. You end up getting Matterhorn the goat, which they're looking for the engine, which is an odd thing to be doing where it looks like they are, and what they mean by it, like the world
what
engine.
What the heck is Apex?
Yeah, so we'll have to see what that is. But these are really cool, like, previews to a lot of neat things. Then you get the Locust, and you're like, yeah. I mean, he looks cool, kind of, but he's just hanging with Locust. Like, you don't get anything more than that. He's there, and this is where Rook's like, oh, good, there's a lot of these guys that I wasn't aware of. You get Tatanka the buffalo. Okay, we don't get much of that.
The hare.
Jackrabbit the hare, that actually was mentioned earlier in the issue. Rook said that was during the training that so there is one person that he does know. Then I actually thought this was pretty cool. Glacier, the polar bear, and that could be something that could be as big against Ursal, a polar bear versus bear. That's kind of a crazy deal. Then you get Vermin the rat.
Wow.
Who you barely even get. You get a side view, a profile. Don't get anything. Then Cockerel the rooster, who yells, I'm going to kill you wherever you are. Stay away from my chickens. It's like Foghorn Leghorn sci-fi style. Drives me nuts.
No, I do a say.
Yeah, that's what he's like. I say, son, stay away from my chickens. You got the chicken
I'm going to kill
there.
you.
It would be next to Chicken Hawk. But you have Kidda the mountain lion. Says, leave me alone. You have Ursa the bear, who says, I see you. I'm coming for you. The birds in the sky are there. And that's where Rook is yelling, shut it off. He's ripping off his deal. And maybe that was the last, but maybe there's a couple more. I don't know. But he's yelling to shut it off. And that's a cool play where they're it looks like Ursa's triangulating things. But when he gets near a place that has a ton of crows flying around it, as he says, I see your birds in the sky. This would be a way to root him out. I mean, that is a telltale sign. That's where Rook is, and he wants. It's not like Ursal's just like, okay, I'm going to go to this area and take over. He wants the masks. That's all he's going for. And if he's going for rooks, all he has to do is follow. Yeah, and he's got to follow the birds, and he can get there. He rips off this. Again, this is like the Cerebro deal hooked in to it. And he says he's here because when he disconnects it, Dire Wolf's like, oh my God, what are you doing? We're still doing this. He's like, no.
Ursa,
he's here. And it's not even like, oh, he was in my mind and he is
out
here.
Our door.
Yeah, he's there. And you see that he is. And again, you end up seeing the ships that he has. Those bears are just huge. But with him, you have the new Warden of Boars, Warhog. And Warhog is not very nice.
Shut up, Pumbaa.
Yeah, and Pumbaa there, where we like Pumbaa. Pumbaa is actually complaining that swine is dead. He says, stop whining, Pumbaa. You listen to me now. I would say Pumbaa's not going to. Again, that play of not respecting the deal. There's Ursal, and then there's Ka, Warden of Pythons, with the python around her, and she's walking in, so we'll have to see all that.
If we get giant pythons, I'll be terrified.
Yeah, there's going to be some crazy... I mean, these bears are just huge.
If we get a python that big, I'm done.
Python, and then, it's like
now.
the worst. I'm telling you, those spider guys, they're the worst to me. But they were sending out the call, but kind of like just connecting. I don't know that they ever got a message or anything because of Ursal, going in there, and you ended up having the link broken by Rook pulling off the helmet. So maybe the whole thing was just boom, 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 a signal, come here or whatever. Not any of them really maybe if you go Locust, he seems like he might want to come. He's just there. I don't know that, say, Matterhorn the goat is anywhere near, or Glacier the polar bear, right? So in that, you even have the cockerel the rooster. You might get a couple of these, maybe Tatanka the buffalo. And I'm telling you, maybe the players, the ones we don't see too much of, will be the ones that will show up. So then you can show their big thing, because some of them you're not really getting a full even idea of the scope or what of them. But Tatanka looks like might be like a American or Native American type motif there, like a Midwest type deal with the buffalo. It looks pretty cool. So I want to see him a little more, or her. I guess it's a he, but who knows?
Could be either one.
Yeah, you never know until you see the crazy, sexy python body of Ka, the Warden of Pythons. Yeah, look at her there. It's like what's it called? The Anaconda movie with J-Lo. So you end up at the end pretty good, but again, it's like, man, this is going to be cool. As you go through it here, it's just them showing you the things. It's opening up the world. You're finding out the Wardens, which is neat. But again, it's kind of like the story itself, because of that, had to stall a little, and now we're just going to have to fight Ursal again, but we'll see if they can repel him. And he's going against giant turtles with huge giant guns on them.
A bear versus turtle. Who's going to win?
Yeah, so we'll have to see. But what would you give it?
I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. I still really enjoyed it, even though last week we gave, what did we give Redcoat? 9.5?
You gave 9.5. I give it 9.3. Yeah.
This is pretty good. It's still a little bit step lower because, like you said, this is very much just introducing us to the rest of the Wardens, because as it says, next month we're getting War of the Wardens. So obviously we need to know who the Wardens are. So this was very much a setup issue. We didn't get as much here, but it's still really cool, and the artwork is always fantastic. You
haven't been reading it catch up. We're only 3 issues in. I would read all of them, but this one's really good. And I'm sure that if this was still somebody's favorite, this does nothing to pull it back. I'm an 8.5 as well, by the way. So I am really into it.
Weird science is the revolution.